I want to see Italians cure cancer. Just for the press conference. When they come out in their Italian flag lab coats and shit. Like, oh! What we fucking tell you? What was I saying? Cancer in my fucking balls! I told you Vito would stop the metastasis. He's a freaking genius! These cakes been working on cancer 100 years. Get Pisons on 2 weeks. Done!
Monty, in your act, you sort of make fun of Italians.
I do not.
You do not?
No, I
You would not.
Shut him down. No part of the Italians.
Why is it that you do that?
I just don't like them. No. Well, I think every Italians well, first of all, I kind of look Italian, so I've been taken as Italian a lot of times, and I grew up with a lot of Italians. Italians have probably more than other cultures. They're a little bit more out there and in your face. So in the case of the Italians, they're a little bit more fun to have fun with, you know. So that's just one group of people that I enjoy. Mind you, I make fun or have fun jokes about a number of different races. So it's not the Italians aren't alone, but they're a lot of fun to kind of poke fun at because they're so you know, you gotta love them.
Yeah, they're very. Yeah, you got it.
That's also the only race you could really get away with doing that short and stereotypical an impression of.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're
You can't.
You know, one time I did a focus group where I had to fake being Italian, and that's almost all I did. It was a focus group like eight people.
Did you change your voice? Just like.
I was like, I don't know.
Oh, this guy's Italian.
Oh, he is not. Oh, forget about it. And I was doing that nonstop. Well, because I was like, I'm blatantly not Italian. And they're like, well, listen, you got to be Italian for this. I'm like, yeah, I'm part Italian. They're like, you have to be full Italian. I'm like, yeah, I'm full Italian. So I came in, but you know, I'm named Monty Scott, so I had a whole backstory about how my grandfather was an orphan, and then he went to Scotland, and then he took the name of the farmer that adopted him. And that was Scott, and that's how I was like. So I got in there. So I just ate a couple sandwiches, and we talked about a few things. And
Scott,
like sitting around
And they
with
bought
eight
it. They
Italians.
didn't. They never questioned you, or
How often did you bring up your Nona? Sorry.
You know what? I did not realize how involved being an Italian is because I'm not a Catholic either. So they were just talking about their own personal saints. Like I guess they have their own. Everything they said made no sense to me. I just ate sandwiches almost the whole time, and that was the most Italian thing I could do. I was eating sandwiches, and I was like, no.
that's pretty Italian. That's pretty
Just
Italian.
an impression of
We'll
Tony
give it
Soprano
to
basically
yeah.
for the entire time, and then I was like, all right, it's time to go.
And Clifford, you spend a lot of your act talking about your Portuguese family. Why is that? Why do you?
The handicapped Italian. That's pretty much the Portuguese. I'm raised with a Portuguese mom. How can you not talk about it? The Portuguese are crazy. Portuguese are kind of in the same line of sight as Italians. They're loud, they're goofy, they do weird things all the time. They constantly smell like Good Friday, just like fish and sacrament oil for some reason. And I just have fun with it. I'm getting actually more as time goes on. I'm doing more and more jokes about that because I realize how much I was connected to it. Like you guys said you had Portuguese bakery earlier, and I'm just dreaming of these custard tarts, and I'm like, oh man, I love that culture. And so obviously I'm going to joke about it and bring it on stage. I love it. That's positive. Not like this guy hates the Italians.
Sure.
Yeah.
Diana, do you think making jokes about different kinds of races, do you think in the comedy club setting, does that bring everyone together?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really do a lot of. I'm from PEI. I don't know anything about any race ever. I didn't
There it is.
I didn't hear the stereotype that Chinese people were bad drivers until I moved to Toronto because we don't have Chinese people. I don't know anything. So I've never really had the opportunity to get into those kind of jokes because I'm just it's PEI.
That's for someone else.
So many white people on an island. But,
Dylan, how about yourself? I mean, you're.
Well, I've been very outspoken about my opinions. You can hear my radio, hate.everything. How I feel about it? I feel there's a way you can massage it, definitely. But much like Diana, I grew up in a small town, but mine was in Ontario, and I'm like, I don't know. I would feel weird being like, because all those guys are like this. You know what I mean? And I don't know. Generalizations. I don't really try not to go with generalizations because I find that sometimes they're right and sometimes they're wrong, and I don't. You know what I mean? But I see a lot of.
Most of the time I haven't heard them.
Yeah, exactly. Like I had never heard a word about a Jewish person until I moved to Toronto, and then everyone was like, "Oh, you're from a small town. That must be really racist." I'm like, I think you guys got that covered because you just keep on being like, Jewish people, they're so cheap." And I was like, I guess I don't know, man. Let's I don't know. We could all hang out.
We don't have
That's
a
another
synagogue in PEI.
Yeah, there's no synagogue.
Monty, when it comes to race, where's the line between cheap laughs and really good comedy?
Well, I don't know. To be honest, a lot of the times, depending on how you tackle race, like if you, cheap laughs are probably the most racist because you're always reinforcing stereotypes that are, and not that there's necessarily anything. Well, I guess there is something wrong with that. I mean, you shouldn't really reinforce stereotypes. That's what's kind of racist about things. You're prejudging people, right? So anytime you do something that is actually biting and specific to a race and poignant, a lot of times people will think that's racist because in their head it's just challenging to their beliefs. And if you say, well, this group of people, maybe they're looking at things this way or whatever, in a kind of general scope, but it's true, people will have more problem with that than they will if you're like, Chinese people are bad drivers. And people other than Chinese people will laugh and go, they like that. But if you do something that's more challenging, that's when the audience, a lot of times they'll mistake that for racism.